Alright, this is kind of funny. Anyway, HythloTroll, he's titled the video, Minden's Theory of Everything, right? And so he's going to apparently read this eventually, right? So we're 5 minutes in. He's read, we're in 1.5 paragraphs. Really, so far, just pointing out stupid things. Well, I have titled the word thing abstract, and the abstract is really just the first 2 paragraphs. And this is where the argument starts. I just haven't put the word argument in here yet. Because, when I submit this, I have to submit it. I can't submit it as a web page. I have to submit it in a different form. So that was just for my own purposes. So, those kind of technical corrections are really not of much value. You want to sit there and tell me how I should reformat the document. Well, fine, but that's just really irrelevant. So then he says, he makes the accusation, I've disregarded experiments. And how have I done that? Explain to me what experiment I have disregarded. I'm cynical and critical of interpretations of experiments. Somebody does something and they claim something else. It's like that guy with his ferrocell claiming he's seeing in 3 dimensions. Can't do that. Okay, you can't do that with a magnetic film. You can't see photons. You can't do any of that shit. Anyway. So what else do I want to get to? Yes, I haven't disregarded any experiments. It's just a lie. So it's just typical, right? 5 minutes in, nothing. Then he talks about me calling them liars and this and all that, and my attitude, and it's like petulant child. Well, first off, who isn't in the truther game, so to speak, of anything? I mean, I can name you all the magnetism guy. I mean, you talk about insults. I mean, that's all he's got is a stream of insults. The whatever his name is. I don't know why I always forget his name. Strange. Miles Mathis guy. Hostile as fuck. The Getty's guy. Rope theory. Hostile. He puts up. He wastes his time doing animations with Einstein's head. So what are you talking about, asshole? I mean, this is just useless crap. The idea is you take what's in the fucking paper and you read that. That's the argument being made. That argument. You can't understand doing that. You can't discipline yourself for a moment and just read the paper for what it says and say you either get it or you don't get it. You can't do that, you fuck. But this, an hour and a half of this crap, yeah, it's just such a waste of time. So anyway, well, let's play a little bit to just get the idea. It's just this rag. Oh, he's actually going to read some more. Poorly. I'll add that too.
The universe is, in substance, just made of one thing. See, it's this is. It lacks humility, was the word I was looking for. In the face of everything.
Yeah, well, yeah. See, you can't even get through the whole sentence. Yes, it's an argument. In arguments, you point out what you're claiming to be. You use the word is. Whatever. Again, it just doesn't matter. If this is all you've got is a counter argument, I'm not humble enough. I mean, you're just wasting my time. But anyway, so I'll be back. Probably take a while before I get to a salient point. Fuck. Really didn't want to come back to this soon, but it's just such a stupid fucking comment. Alright, so I'll take my notes. Alright, so, yeah, I'll put in it is proposed here. Okay, just to satisfy him. Nothing new in this idea. So he's claiming there's nothing new in the idea, right? I mean, the idea is basically saying there's no need for bent space. Velocities are absolute. Yes, of course they can be relative, but they're absolute. They degrade matter's performance, causing time dilation. It provides an explanation for gravity, gets rid of the bent space. But there's nothing new here. All right, so yes, you don't need space-time, totally obliviated. You don't need any of this other bullshit that's out there. It's basically claiming that you can't bend light with gravity, so whatever lensing they have there's some other explanation, and I think that's becoming clear because their lensing data sucks. So, yeah, but there's nothing new here. This is Democritus's theory of the atom. It's nothing more than that. I mean, just fuck you. It's just such a stupid thing to say. I mean, it's quite obviously a radical divergence from everything Einstein said. Right? Everything Einstein said beyond E equals mc squared, I'm claiming is absolutely wrong as a description of reality, except for his mathematics. But his description of why, the bent space and all that crap, is wrong. And you're saying there's nothing new here. Just amazing. All right, then he can't even read. Gets the polarization thing wrong. Okay, so he doesn't understand what polarization is. So, I mean, apparently I have to, this is supposed to be read by people that have a little bit of physics knowledge. And frankly, I think most physicists understand that polarization is an orientation, a shape. The filter is made out of lines. Physicists should know that. It's a grating. And the photons are filtered based on how they fit through the grating, indicating they probably have a shape. Fuck. Just amazing. So, and it says orientation of polarization. Somehow I'm supposed to say that some other way. If polarization is this, why wouldn't you say this is an orientation? Different positions is a different orientation. It's perfectly correct English, asshole. Alright. Then, like I said, can't read. No evidence. So he claims I have no evidence of this part. But he didn't even read this sentence. So he says, quantons fill space, matter, and energy are in essence all there is and all that is. Yeah, there's no more evidence than Einstein's bent space. There's no evidence of bent space except for gravity. Clearly, I'm arguing that quantons are gravity. They're the thing causing gravity. They're banging into planets and pushing them into the sun. Fuck. You didn't read this. When trapped in circular orbits, we call them matter. Kind of an important one. Didn't read it. Yeah, we just didn't read it. Didn't read it. But now he says this.
The differential equations of Maxwell, the solutions point the way to a wave type phenomena and yield the exact speed of light.
Right. They put in the distance, okay, wavelength is distance over time. As soon as you put that in an equation, you're going to get the speed of light. There's no way around that. Wavelength is a time component. Frequency is a time component. You understand that if you have the frequency in an equation, that's telling you the distance. If you have the wavelength, but the wavelength and the frequency are going to be the same thing anyway. But I'm just saying, once you have both time and distance, you're going to get the constant, of course. So, I mean, not to understand how the math works backwards. You don't understand the math works backwards? You'll find constants when you put in both of those values. If you have time and distance, you're going to get the constant. You don't understand that? Because all light moves the same speed? So I mean, that's just so bogus. But anyway, this whole commentary is just so motherfucking useless. You're not dealing with the subject at all. You're just being an asshole. How dare you call anyone else an asshole, you asshole? Anyway. But yeah, it's funny. Can't read this, we're shit. So anyway, I'll be back. Probably. Oh, it's just so horrible. Alright, so he says, Maxwell says electricity and magnetism are the same thing. Maxwell doesn't say that. It's a preposterous thing to even suggest that they're the same thing. What's clearly suggested by the facts, idiot, is that magnetism can induce electrical current if the field is moving, right? And electricity moving, current moving, can induce magnetism. It's induction, idiot. They're not the same thing. They cause each other. fuck you. All right, then he gets on the weak and the strong forces. Yeah, I don't go into the weak and strong forces because they're basically just manifestations of magnetism and charge, which is magnetism. So it's magnetism, and so again we're back to the polarization issue, and it just has to do with the planes that make up an atom, and that on those planes, polarization is important and will magnify the effect of the bonding forces, the spin. String unification. I don't know what unification he was talking about. He says there's a unification theory that already does all this with Einstein's relativity crap, and it's not the point. That's not what this paper's about. This paper's making an argument that this is what the universe is doing. All right, now you want to tell me what everybody else in the universe thinks? And one guy thinks rope, another guy thinks a bunch of donuts are creating magnetism, other guy thinks, I don't know what the fuck he thinks, whatever. Tesla knew it all. That's not the point of this document. So what the fuck? You want me to argue all your theories and point out how all your theories are wrong? So I have to do the work of pointing out how all your theories are wrong, but you don't have to do it to this theory. Oh, I see. Yeah, a bit of a double standard. Fucktard. Right, then he hangs on the simplest term, directional identity. Through their ability to transfer directional identity. He says, I don't describe that, it's not specified, and then he calls it an unnecessary notion. It's the entire function, you stupid cunt. I pointed out further down here, obviously there's the drawing with the X. I mean, this is what makes orbits possible, is directional identity, and the collecting of directional identity. For directional identities make a box, jackass, which ends up being an orbit, fuckhead. I mean, you know, I mean, how could you say I'm not specifying directional identity? They're fucking arrows. The picture is a picture of fucking arrows. And you're saying I don't specify directional identity. What is directional identity? They're fucking arrows. Let's play. So we'll play up to 2 more minutes.
Circumstances of velocity and masses. In the case where all bodies have the same velocity and all bodies have the same mass, then no body, I believe this is correct interpretation, just under straightforward Newton paradigm, no body will...
Look, I mean, this isn't a Newton subject, okay? It's fucking quantum physics, jackass. This isn't, we're not talking about Newton's world, all right? We know something now about atoms and the bits that make up atoms, and now the bits that make up the bits that make up atoms. And that's what the subject is, quantum. I mean, how the fuck do I have to explain this? This is quantum mechanics I'm arguing, jackass. Not bowling balls.
Gain speed and...
Yeah, again, this isn't what we're talking about. I already pointed this out. It's standard speed, standard math. All photons are exactly alike. Every single motherfucking one of them. Every graviton exactly alike. The only thing that changes is their polarization, jackass. That's it. And all they do is interact, exchanging direction. There's no heat, there's no bits that fly off, there's no change in speed.
As Imendum will discuss, and that's quite insightful, is that, you know, the angle of incidence of both particles and the angle of reflection, so to speak, will match it with a mirror symmetry.
So then why this bullshit then? Why make this stupid comparison? The point is the only thing exchanged in the universe is direction, but a direction is important. You know, it just happens to be collectible. Directions are collectible. That's what matter does. It collects an even, balanced collection of directions. That's what an orbit is. It's pretty much a balanced collection of fucking direction. It goes this much, the same amount it goes that much, the same amount it goes this much as it goes that much. Shit.
I'll continue. At the real working level of the universe, the smallest bits are just kinetically banging into each other and exchanging direction. Yeah, so again, this is a...
Yeah, so what? I'm supposed to put "I propose" before every fucking paragraph? Fuck you. This is just such a bullshit rag.
Assertion. This isn't a contention. This doesn't have the...
Yes, it is. It's a contention.
Intellectual humility required to...
Again, whatever. Fuck you. This is just such a waste of goddamn time.
Engage with somebody who says they've done an experiment, been published, and been corroborated worldwide by all other...
That's not what happens in theoretical physics. Newsflash, retard. Alright? Einstein didn't do any of that, jackass. Again, no one's ever proven bent space. No one's ever... And frankly, they don't even have much evidence of gravitational lensing yet. I mean, it took the guy 2 years to say, yeah, okay, it was lensing. If you go by the original experiment. They disagreed, right? The two different science... The one guy said no lensing. The other guy said yes. And then the other guy said, okay, I'll look it all over again. Oh, okay, I'll go with you. That's how it happens, shithead.
Institutions wishing to replicate and test it and overturn conventional paradigms, you know, just because...
Right, paradigms based on what? Right? You need a convergence. We need a way to make energy so the planet Earth flies into the sun. Because obviously this Earth isn't burning any energy. The sun is, yes, it's creating light, but it's not burning any energy making gravity. So where's the energy coming from? Well, let's just make the energy out of another dimension. So we'll create space-time, and we'll have all the energy in space-time, made by gravity, coincidentally. You can't see that isn't an explanation, right? And so I'm giving you a real force with real shit that makes it happen, and you're giving me this argument. Like I'm at some different standard than Einstein. Einstein doesn't have to prove anything. We already know the convergence existed. Again, he's not explaining anything. The point is where's the energy come from? He says empty space makes it by collapsing. And that's good enough for you. And I'm fucking evil because I say, wait a minute, that sounds like bullshit. Like photons going through 2 slits and the rest of this crap. And you insult me because you fuckers insult my intelligence with fucking Santa Claus stories? And that's what this is. This is a fucking fable, bent space. It's ludicrously vacant. Alright, enough. I'll be back. Alright, I'll get to 15 minutes.
As you assert this doesn't allow you to dismiss experimental evidence.
Again, what experimental evidence am I dismissing? I've shown the experimental evidence. I've pointed out, look, they're calling this lensing. They're saying that the gravity way out here in the galaxy is stronger than the gravity way in there. That somehow the lens is way the fuck out here is where the strong gravity is. Now, logically, I don't think anybody could defend that. And they can't defend it, and so what do to fix it? They invent dark matter. Well, let's just fill the galaxy with dark matter, and now we can make the lens any place. And you don't see that as an engineered, contrived pile of shit, as a fucking goddamn experiment. I'm not allowed to be critical of the experiment where they basically just said, let's just ignore that part of the experiment, we'll put a little fucking Tinkerbell on top of that part of the experiment, and that explains how it happened. We'll invent something, a fantasy, to fix it. And you insult me? Fuck you. He's such an asshole. I mean, alright, so fundamental function. You had a problem with fundamental function. It's right next to the picture of the arrows, the things moving the speed of light in a direction. The fundamental function. That's what's being described. The fundamental function is in the universe is that these little bits bang into each other, and because of the automatic circumstance where the pressure around each one pushes them together, they tend to clump. And the clumps are what we're made out of, asshole. That's the fundamental function, shithead. It's right next to the picture, shithead. I mean, it's like, I would like you to describe what you mean by. This is the outline. I explain it in the rest of this document. Clearly you've read the document before you're making this video. So you don't understand that the explanation is part of the document? This is how you write a document. First you outline where you're going, and then you explain how you got there. That's how you argue a point. You stupid cunt. Alright, his claim, it is not likely to give, he's saying, he's claiming, now, he's claiming that somehow this theory won't explain subatomic particles. Let's understand, they're not particles in the first place. These are the only things that are particles. Everything else is an orbiting arrangement. There is no other particle. Everything else is made of these spinning around each other. Quarks, these spinning around each other. Electron, these spinning around each other. Neutron, these spinning around each other. I guess I'll have to put that somewhere in the document so you understand. There's only one particle. One. The rest of them are cultures. The rest of them are, what do you call it when a bunch of cells, communities of quanta. They're just orbits. The big universe is the giveaway, right? You just have to understand we're an aberration. Just ignore chemistry and go from the little stuff to the big stuff, and you see it's all doing the same thing. It just gets in these swirly clumps. And that's it. They're all just swirly clumps, for fuck's sake. Alright, anyway, it's too stupid. But this is just too much. This next... This is just... He's just insufferably petty.
In his opinion, in his humble opinion, unfortunately not.
No, I'm making a bold assertion. I don't give a shit about this humility crap. It's not really not an issue here. I mean, to me, it makes it all the more. People should be even more hungry to prove me wrong, and yet all you're doing is insulting, asshole.
So we have his illustration of this, what he will call a field. Again, misusing technical terms of what a field means, and really mean this preponderance of filled space with these bouncing particles.
Right, so he's claiming this does not illustrate a field. A wheat field, a corn field, any other kind of field I've ever heard of. A field is a bunch of things spread out. It's field dynamics. The entire matter is just an arrangement in the field. We're crop circles, essentially. How am I using the term inappropriate? I just can't believe what a petty fuck you are.
In mathematics or physics, that isn't what a field means, but...
Yes, it is, liar. It's exactly what a field means.
He sees no problem.
It's what a magnetic field is. It's what all these things are. It's a perpetuation, a bunch of stuff spread over an area. That's a field, shithead.
Along with hijacking the term in his explanations.
Again, hijacking. This is hijacking. I was supposed to call this something else. I mean, the whole universe is made of these things in arrangements, and he's arguing I can't call that a field. I mean, what? Oh, gosh, I just can't believe your dick is got to be all the way shriveled up. It's got to be right next to your anus. You fucking cunt.
And the confusion it might cause.
What confusion? I mean, really, what do I call a bunch of things moving in a spread out area? I mean, if they were cats, you would call it a. If I had 1 billion cats spread out on a field, you'd call it a field of fucking goddamn cats. Shit. I mean, just so fucking petty. Alright, I'll be back. This is a waste of my goddamn fucking time. Again. Ugh, this pettiness has no bounds. Anyway, so I was complaining because I used the word paradox. I'm not allowed to call this a paradox. The idea that nothing really happens, but something happens. You know, two things leave going exactly. The universe after these two things, it's exactly the same universe. Except, you know, this little key ingredient where now you've caused this angle thing to happen. And yeah, so it's not technically unexplainable, but I'm just saying it's so curiously bizarre that it's essentially an identical circumstance in the sense that the same shit comes out. It's just that it's not exactly the same shit. It's only not the same shit in some very subtle way. So anyway, it's just so petty. I'll play it. I mean, it's just so fucking petty.
Right. But they fundamentally conflict, so either they're both wrong, one of them is right, and the other is wrong, and so on.
Yeah, I understand that, and I point out in the next paragraph, it just points clearly, it says this is how the universe really works. It does actually deflect. It doesn't go right through each other, so yes, I resolved the paradox. It's just I just, you know, like I said, this is too fucking petty.
So again, he doesn't understand the technical use of the word paradox.
Oh, fuck you.
In a pure kinetic interaction.
Such a petty fuck. Anyway, I'll be back. It's just such there's no point in having a conversation with somebody this idiotic. You know, a number of times the word paradox has been used to describe circumstances that are just very bizarre. Anyway, fuck you. Hard to say what he's doing here. I mean, maybe he didn't read this before. That just makes it all the more fucktarded. It's not that long. You proofread it first and then you do your commentary. I don't understand anybody not doing that. It's a scientific paper. It's not exactly, you know, it's written to be brief. It's assuming some sort of knowledge. You have to do a little bit of thinking, and you're going to read it cold, line by line, and that makes sense to you? You're really stupid. So anyway, because he conceded, I said it seems like a paradox, you know. So I mean, I qualified the word paradox. So yeah, you can't catch me on that, because I qualified the use of the word. You know, he's just such a, you know. So what eludes him now is why this is significant. The pointing out the fact that this nothing. It's as if it's invisible, like they went right through each other. Looks the same as the action. And the reason why it's significant, if you know anything about controversies in physics, is because the reason why Lesage gravity was discounted as not possible is because they claimed it would create heat and that it would generate energy in some mechanism or in some way or other. It would have an energy exhaust that would be detectable. And this is the argument that's being made here, is that no, it wouldn't be detectable. It's completely undetectable from an interaction that we concede is, from our perspective, invisible. It's doing exactly the same thing. It's conservation. So it's demonstrating that this is a conservative way to create movement, to create orbits, to create filtering, and it requires no energy consumption, no extra heat, no friction, no anything, no waste. And that's the reason why it's used as an illustration. You fucktard. Anyway, so let's see where he's going now. I mean, he just he's just hanging on every word, so it's just there's just no point.
Extravagant, useless drivel. Yeah, it's just obeying Newton's second law.
Right, so now he's saying this is not significant. And Clearly, it's a very pushing force. To say that gravity is a pushing force is a significant thing to say. If I can demonstrate that, I mean, it debunks all of physics. All physicists believe gravity's pull. They even have little slogans for it. I can't remember it offhand, but they do it at their little shows when they have their TV shows. They use their little cliches, about how gravity's pull. So again, this is just a ludicrous game you're playing. This is a significant. It turns the entire physics back into particle physics, and as I stated, it gets rid of all this woo. I mean, you're so
right.
Point showing the moving
We
screen.
Can sympathise with what he's saying, but there's no need for this extra verbosity, this extra.
Well, whatever. Fuck you. I mean, this is just so stupid. There's no need for this kind of useless critique. If I choose to tell a joke, that's my prerogative, asshole. If I choose to shove a couple of words together because I like the way they sound, that's my prerogative, asshole. This isn't anything significant. You're not judging anything technically about what I'm saying here and how this sentence isn't saying what I'm saying. The sentences are saying what I'm saying.
Increase of terms. What do you mean by identity? Identity is.
This is just so stupid, right? Arrow going in direction, that's its identity, right? An arrow heading for your ass, you're sure as hell going to know its fucking identity based on the one that's not heading for your ass. You're going to know they have two different identities. One of them's heading for my ass and one of them's not heading for my fucking ass. That's identity, jackass. The actual direction you're traveling has something to do with your goddamn identity when you're a goddamn quantum. Yeah, he doesn't even think I'm allowed to use the word quanta. There's no point, right? Okay, I'll go back to notes. Fuck it. I really shouldn't do this, but I mean, it's too soon. But he's not picking on. This creates opportunity for a collection of identity in forms, patterns, and forms. And now he's saying I can't use the word opportunity because that has something to do with sentience. I mean, it's just amazing. No, they can't collect forms unless they bounce off of each other. They have to change their direction. He's saying changing direction is just equal but opposite reaction. No, it's a change in direction, jackass. It's a significant event. Something comes in this way and it leaves exactly the opposite direction. That's significant, fuckhead. Significant in its life, it's going exactly the opposite direction. If I turn your house upside down, it's a significant event, jackass. I mean, this is so lame.
Ancient agents like looking for opportunity, alright? So
opportunity just means it makes it possible. It makes it possible. That's all it means. So just shut up. I mean, you petty fuck.
It's a wrong technical word, wrong description. You're speaking metaphorically when you should be speaking literally if this is a paper.
I'm sorry. No, there's nobody else on planet Earth who could possibly not understand that when you say the word it creates an opportunity, that means that it creates the opportunity for you, like to steal the candy from the baby. No one's looking. Now you have the opportunity to steal the candy from the baby. I mean, no, everybody understands that opportunity is created by circumstance. This circumstance creates the opportunity for stuff to get caught in patterns. I mean, it's perfectly legitimate use of the word. This is just so petty, so fucking bogus. You're such a jackass. You're just such a fucking loser of a cunt. I mean, now he has to read the collection of 4 90-degree turns. I guess he won't understand what that means.
In geometry, a circle can be understood as a rounded square. Well, if...
Again, why are you doing this sentence by sentence? Can't you just read the next sentence? A collection of 4 90-degree turns? Isn't that an explanation of a circle? 4 90-degree turns? You stupid fuck. I mean, this is just so fucking idiotic. Okay, I'll stop. But there's no point. I mean, he's going to fuck up every fucking sentence because he can't seem to figure out that maybe he should read 2 or 3 sentences at a time before he judges what the sentence is saying. It's just too stupid. Too fucking stupid. Too petty. Petty, petty, petty fuck. That's terrible. Anyway, okay. pure kinetic reaction. Okay, that was the other one. Okay, so now he's arguing with the probability stuff. So, you know, there's a universe. All the stuff you can identify in the universe, there's, as identifiable quanta, there's more in the tip of my finger. My fingernail is bigger than the universe in terms of the quanta as identifiable discrete bits. So the permutations taking place in the universe, these things are moving the speed of light and interacting with each other perhaps billions of times per second. And so it's a huge, you can't even calculate the permutations, the events. And the argument being made is that sometimes there's enough of these events in a row, a sequence of events. So it's the same as the argument for the monkeys at the typewriter. And that sooner or later the monkey will type hello. Somebody. That's all we're saying. Hello. We're not saying they have to type something terribly profound. It doesn't have to be Shakespeare. Just the word hello. That's going to happen. You know, with appropriate spaces between it, let's say. Yeah, and that's, once you have that entity, then the argument I've made is really, well, see, he's just such a cunt for not reading this ahead of time. This is just talking about the idea of creating orbits. And once you have the structure gets harder to fall apart the bigger it gets. The more elements in it, the more damage it can take without falling apart. And that's the essence of this gravity thing. So once you create the soap bubble in pressure, it'll stay a soap bubble. You know, once you create something in pressure, it tends to stay what it is. So really it's just, well, once you initiate it, it's likely to stay in the condition it is. That's one of these inertia things. It takes a little extra. It takes more from the field to destroy it. Just like when solid matter, you can't break it easy. You've got to hit it with something hard. You've got to hit it with laser beams. You hit it with something aggressive to break it down. There's a certain tension it can tolerate because it's built by that pressure. So this isn't, you know, I mean, this argument is not that obtuse or that hard to figure out. And so he's making this argument as if there's no, and it says right here, kinetic field pressure. So now he's arguing, well, what holds the other particles in? What? The whole argument is that it's a pressure, you idiot. The whole fucking theory is based on the idea that this quanta creates an external pressure and everything else is caught in a personal field, and the personal field dynamics are full of your current events. So what's happening lately is what you've expelled. So if you're going right, you're expelling left. And that's still in your local field, and it may come back to you. Okay, it's a rebound. You might see it again. You might smell your own farts, asshole. That might happen. You know, and so there's a local field, but I mean, the whole thing ends up being, that's why two gravitational bodies end up becoming one gravitational body in a sense, because now they've created a field dynamic. So they don't have their own field, but they have their combined field. You know, and so it's just this expanding field, this expanding pressure. And with this expanding pressure, yes, two soap bubbles will be pushed together. Oh, I mean, fuck. I mean, it's right there, universal glue. I mean, you're arguing where's the glue, and it's titled Universal Glue, the kinetic field pressure, for fuck's sake. The good news is, no, maybe it's not. Okay, never mind. I thought, you know, he's got to scroll up, I guess. Okay, never mind. No, this really is a give-up point. I mean, I probably just shouldn't listen to the rest of it. It's just so obnoxious. But this is his duplicity here is just so amazing. So just listen to this shit.
Universe, we see a mechanism we call gravity hold matter in patterns.
Right, so I said in the big universe, we see gravity hold matter in patterns.
And make solar systems and galaxies. Well,
this is him talking. This isn't him reading now.
We also see nuclear forces and electro forces hold that matter together.
Okay, so he's just telling me there's other forces holding matter together in the nucleuses of atoms. So my next sentence is...
The gravity works on a much larger scale, it seems.
Right, so that's what I'm arguing, that there's gravity inside of atoms, just like there's gravity out there, and it's gravity in the manifestation of magnetism. But anyway.
On the level of the very small, the very same mechanism holds. Another assertion. Yeah?
It's not even a comma there. So, I mean, he didn't even finish. He just stops. There's not even a comma there. I mean, holds quanta in patterns. It's not like the same mechanism holds quanta in patterns that become matter. It's exactly what he just corrected me to say. Well, atoms have holding powers too, nuclear forces. He just brings that up. I just say exactly the same fucking thing, and he's criticizing it. I mean, you just can't get worse than this. The duplicity, the goddamn fucking hypocrisy, the goddamn fucking petty motherfucker. So yeah, I shouldn't have to endure this. This is just so disgusting. Ugh. You jump off the planet, asshole. I mean, you just lost all hope of being a human being. Something with some kind of thing called intelligence. You're obviously motivated by one thing and one thing alone, and that's it. Okay? You got your little tiny penis. I pointed it out, and now you just can't get anything else on your mind. Fucking creep. Oh, God, it's just insufferable. I keep saying that, but it just keeps getting more insufferable, right? So he says, I don't have refuted experiments. Of course I have. I refuted the two-slit, Copenhagen, all that stuff is unnecessary. You deal with single-slit diffraction, interference pattern. Explain to me which slit the photon goes through, the single slit or the single slit. Idiot. Total willingness to hear the argument. You have no willingness to hear this argument. So now he wants me to go all the way to abiogenesis of the matter. I have to explain not only the first orbit, the second orbit, the third, the fourth, the whole evolution of spin. I have to explain in this document, or it's invalid theory. I just made the point that orbits are what identifies matter. Matter is made out of orbits. Conservative capturing of energy, essentially, in this form that's usually in the form of it will be released at a frequency, but that I don't even want to get into. But that it's a place where the stuff has potential to go straight again, but it's not going straight. It's going in these orbits. And so I was just creating the idea that this is how simple it can be, that orbits are created. Now, you want me to go through nuclear furnaces now? You want me to explain 10 seconds after the Big Bang what kind of shape the matter was in, and therefore, what kind of shape the energy was in, and therefore it was more likely to get caught up in these orbits or spins? I mean, the point is we know the particles that exist now have hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of quanta. An electron is a million quanta, a million. They're huge storms. They're gigantic hurricanes. And that's the whole argument here, is they are now so big and so massive that they can't be disturbed if you blow them this way or you knock them this way or knock them that way. The simple orbit of just a square, that thing can't survive movement. It can't be moved at all. If you move it, you lose it. So the idea is that that's, of course, the matter that exists has to be made out of these hundreds. Like quarks, you could say if they were 1,000, let's say they're 1,000 just for the hell of it, 1,000 quanta, and that's your minimum. You can't maintain it. You can't survive the thermodynamics, the movement inside, the jitter inside of atoms if it doesn't have more than that. It'll get degraded by the tremendous amount of agitation that's going on, and it'll lose its integrity and fall apart and lose its spin. Now, I have explained this in videos. I can't do it in this document. I can't explain the entire evolution of spin, but I have done it in videos, you fuck. I've explained how these spins are compatible, and that's what essentially creates the idea of current, and which is likely creating the idea of polarization, but it also creates a loose field around everything. So everything almost has a membrane around it, where it has a loose field of its previous state. It's still in the local field, and that previous state comes back, and that's the nature of velocity. But whatever, I mean, fuck you. I cannot put all of this in this document. So you don't understand the purpose of the document? Einstein's goddamn documents were a page long, you motherfucking cunt. He didn't explain all of the entire thermodynamics of the entire universe in those documents, you fucking cunt. I mean, this is just so out fucking petty. Anyway. So then he goes on to like, oh, he's talking about wormholes or whatever, quantum tunneling or something like this is real shit. And everything about the standard model had proves everything in the standard model. There's a diagram of everything's understood. I don't really think it is, jackass. So if you think that's the way it works, then I think you're a sucker. Um, then he talks about the elements and the 100 fake ones we've made that all last less than a second. If an element lasts less than a second, if it can't even survive to be alive 1 fucking second, I don't think it's really matter then. I don't think it's in anything called a natural state. I don't think it's anything in a survivable state. It's in a state where we force two things together and then we identify them as something. It's like me shoving your dog up your fucking ass and then saying, look, it's dog ass. Man, it's a real thing. No, it's not a real thing. It's a contrived thing, you jackass. But well worth goddamn doing. What else? On to the blah blah blah, but I don't know what that says. It says something foundation. Well, anyway, you're just not getting the point here, okay? The point of this document is to point out how this is all made out of one thing. That gravity is just the basic stuff. That when you put a frequency on it, it's light, or it's the electromagnetic spectrum. Well, and when you put it in orbits, it's what we call matter. And then when you polarize it, it's what we call magnetism. That's the fundamental argument here. I think I'm making that argument well. I think I've made it pretty coherently how all these things are connected and how all these things match. And that's my obligation in this fucking document, you fucking cunt. God, you just suck. Oh, dear. 46 minutes in. I'm still only halfway there. Oh, the pain. Anyway, so he had a problem with the concept of exchanging direction. And now he wants me to detail all the intricacies of what if it comes at this angle, or what if it has a lump on it, or what if it has cancer and has a big tumor on its head. No. Look, if you do something purely kinetic, it wouldn't matter what your shape is. As soon as you make contact with something else, there's no collapsing, there's no absorbing the impact at all. It's purely kinetic, which means through that one point, all the energy is transferred and direction is transferred. So in a pure kinetic interaction, the cue balls don't have to be round. Nothing has to be a shape. It doesn't matter. One tiny little, it could look like a porcupine, have a bunch of little spikes. It's still going to do exactly the same thing because none of it's destructible, you idiot. So until you create something that's collapsible, then you create something that can interact in some other way. But pure kinetics means something, and you just don't get that concept clearly. All right, now he's on to, I mean, you're just, no, I can't be this big an asshole. He just can't. So now he's saying this is the same as what he learned in high school about kinetic interactions with atoms. And no, it's not what you learned. They use general theories sometimes just to explain the dynamic, but clearly it wouldn't be explicitly correct. And we know that it creates heat. And we know that there's friction. And all of that stuff is basically quanta being rubbed off. That's all stuff where you're losing matter, which is losing energy, which is part of the whole conservation argument I'm making here about the fields created. And so these things don't have fields. The quanta don't have a field. They're where the field starts. So you can't make comparisons between, it's like making a comparison between complex humans with billions of cells and a microbe. It's not the same thing. I mean, it's like saying, I'm going to analogize urban street dynamics to algae growing on a rock. It's just stupid. Video no play. Yeah. Something's broken. Fuck. I guess I have to surrender to the broken browser problem. I'll be back. I'll let you hear it yourself. Here on even pressure part.
Well, It would. That's called the kinetic theory of matter, which you learn in high school as an explanation for pressure. Yeah, the kinetic.
Yeah, it's not the same subject. I just don't. What's the point? I'm using the word pressure because it's the but it's the only word you can use. But it has nothing to do with air pressure, all that. No, 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 no. If you make those comparisons, you're just doing what Feynman did to Lesage gravity, which is compared to raindrops. It's stupid. It's physics, fuckhead. It's not chemistry.
Theory of atoms and molecules bouncing off each other with energy.
Yeah, right. So he just keeps making this argument like that's what I'm saying somewhere. I make 3 statements and made them explicitly. They're right there. 3 fucking goddamn rules, and they can't obey them. They can't pay any attention to them. I make it so simple. 3 fucking rules. That's it. 3 straight lines. You understand the word straight line? They're taller than they are wide. They have a shape. Yes, a frisbee, a cigar. I don't care what you call it. They're shaped, you idiot. They can come this way, this way, this way. Yes, in all 3 dimensions. They fly. Yes. Is this too complicated for you, you stupid fuck? When they hit each other, they exchange directions with each other and do nothing else. Is that clear enough? They don't do anything else. They don't leave bits behind. They don't slow down. They don't do any of this fucking shit. What's the point?
So you're discussing the kinetic. You're asserting the kinetic theory of matter.
No, I'm not. It's the kinetic theory of gravity, fuckhead. And then gravity explains photons, and then that explains magnetism, retard. Matter is not part of the theory, really, in the sense that matter doesn't do anything. It's potential energy. I'm talking about the parts that do something, shithead.
But with irregular shaped atoms, so to speak. And yet you've not.
Again, irregular. No, they're identical in the sense that they're all shaped the same. They just fly at a different angle, but they're all exactly the same. Fuck. There's just no point, right? Yeah, there's no point.
The intricacies of such a scammer.
Right. So I'm supposed to put it in this document. I'm supposed to go through all this minutia in this document. Right. Fuck you.